welcome to my kitchen. My name is Emma and I'm the founder of Hearty Little Kitchen, and today we are going to be baking a delicious batch of these ginger spice and white chocolate cookies, which honestly to me are like Christmas in a cookie. Let's have a look at the ingredients that we need in order to make our ginger spice and white chocolate cookies. So, the very first thing, and arguably the most important, is a jar of our ginger spice cookie mix. So, this particular jar has all of the dry ingredients that you need to make your cookies. So, we've got plain flour, we've got some salt, we've got baking powder, we've got caster sugar and brown sugar. We've also got some spices like ground ginger, ground cinnamon, and allspice, which help to give the cookies that really delicious kind of Christmas spiced gingerbready sort of flavor. And then of course we've got some white chocolate chips up the top. So we need a jar of that. We also need 1 egg. We need 125 grams of unsalted butter. If you can, make sure you use unsalted butter because we've already got salt in our jar. We also need some golden syrup. So we need 2 tablespoons of golden syrup if you can. If you can't get your hands on golden syrup, you could use honey. It has a pretty similar consistency and viscosity, so it would work well as well. But golden syrup does have sort of that extra richness to it, which helps to give the cookies that yummy molasses kind of taste. So if you can get golden syrup, I highly recommend using it. And then last but definitely not least, and this is optional, but I do highly recommend about a teaspoon of vanilla extract or vanilla paste. It obviously these cookies being that yummy sort of Christmas ginger spice, the vanilla complements that really well. So the very first thing that we need to do is to measure and melt our unsalted butter. So we need 125 grams of unsalted butter. Now, if you don't have kitchen scales, you can just use little measurements on the side of your block of butter. But if you have kitchen scales, I highly recommend doing it this way, just so that we can sort of ensure there's more accuracy. Grab your kitchen scales, grab a small saucepan and place the saucepan on top of the scales. Make sure that the measurement is on 0. And then we can start to add our butter. Now I sort of just cut it up into smaller pieces just because it melts a little faster. And we want 125 grams. Now you can also melt your butter in the microwave. Just make sure that you place it in a microwave-proof bowl and then just melt it in 30-second bursts, giving it a really good stir in between. Bang on, 125. So we've got our butter in our small saucepan. I'm just going to put the heat on low, put my saucepan on top. As your saucepan is heating up, you'll notice that the butter sort of starts to slowly melt. That's perfectly okay. Just keep an eye on it. You can sort of move the butter around just so that the heat disperses evenly. There we go, beautiful melted liquid gold butter. All right, so I'm going to leave this over here. The heat is off. I'm just going to allow it to cool slightly while I prepare the other ingredients. Got my dry, ready-to-bake mix here, and I'm going to pour the entire contents into a large mixing bowl. Now, you may find you need to give it a little bit of help. Over time, the ingredients compact together. But brown sugar by nature is sort of quite dense and almost like has the consistency of wet sand. So it particularly compacts. So often you need to give your mixture a bit of help coming out of the jar. Give it a whack. That smells so good. Already, straight away, you get that smell. It smells like Christmas. Yum. So I'm just going to use my spoon to just give those dry ingredients a bit of a mix. You may notice that some of the brown sugar clumps together. That is perfectly normal. That is literally just what brown sugar does. So just give the mixture a good mix. Try and break up those clumps of brown sugar just so that everything is dispersed evenly. Now we're going to add our egg. So you can just gently tap your egg on the side of the bowl. You could also tap your egg on the bench if you're worried about shell going into the bowl. If you do accidentally get some shell into the bowl, don't worry, it happens all the time. You can just use one of the other halves of eggshell to scoop it out. Works a treat. So pop that in there, use your spoon just to sort of break up the egg yolk and then just kind of mix it through a little. Then we're going to add our golden syrup. If you have a squeezy bottle, you'll probably find that that's a little bit easier. I obviously don't, so I'm just going to sort of put my spoon in, let some of it drip away. This might get a little bit messy, but it's totally worth it. Add that in there. I'm going to get as much of that golden syrup out as possible. So that's 1 and 2. And now we're going to add our vanilla extract. So as I said before, it is optional. Measure with your heart, about a teaspoon. Doesn't matter if you have a little bit more than that. And last, but definitely not least, our melted butter. Just going to tip that into the bowl. Make sure you get all of it out. Don't leave any behind. And now we're going to give those ingredients a really good mix together. You just want to make sure that we combine the wet and the dry ingredients together. So there are no big dry pockets of flour or sugar or anything like that. Honestly, these would have to be probably my favourite cookie. Yum. Delicious. So, quick little kitchen reset. I'm going to put these ingredients away because I want to make sure I've got lots of space to form my cookie dough balls. Make sure that the bench is clean and tidy. If you need to wipe it down, be my guest. And then we can make our cookie dough balls. So I've got 2 large baking trays here, which I'm going to line with some baking paper now. Now we do need to chill our cookie dough. The reason we chill our cookie dough is because it A, allows the flavours to develop a little bit more, but B, it also means that that butter has time to firm up and harden, which means when we bake our cookies, they don't spread out as much and they kind of keep their sort of chunky style sort of cookie. Now, you do not have to chill your cookie dough. If you really are in a rush and you just want to bake them now, you can absolutely do that. Just bear in mind that your cookies may spread out a little bit more in the oven, but I promise they will still be just as delicious. This recipe makes 12 cookies. So I like to literally use about a heaped tablespoon of cookie dough to form a ball that looks sort of like that. Now you don't need to roll it or anything, literally just kind of clump it into a ball and place it on your tray. You'll find that this particular mixture is quite soft, so as you put it down, it'll sort of start to kind of relax. So there we have 12 perfect balls of cookie dough, which I'm now going to pop in the fridge for about 60 minutes before I bake them. You could also pop them in the freezer for about 30 minutes if you want. You could also put them in the freezer and then leave them in the freezer, and then if you just want to bake 1 or 2 or 3 cookies at a time, you can just bake them as you go. It's entirely up to you. So I will see you in an hour. Okay. So I've just pulled my cookie dough out of the fridge. It's been chilling for about an hour and it's really nice and firm. So they are ready to go in the oven now. My oven has preheated to 180 degrees Celsius on a conventional setting. So I'm going to pop these trays in there now for about 12 minutes. Then I will check on them, see how they're going. They will probably need a couple more minutes. Normally these take around 15 minutes in my oven, but I do always like to check them at the 12-minute mark just to be on the safe side. You can always cook them for longer, but if you burn them, you can't uncook them. How good do these look? So they ended up taking about 15 minutes in the oven, and I could tell when they were ready because they'd sort of started to go a really nice dark brown color around the outside, a little bit on top. Obviously they smell delicious. They smell like Christmas. Yum. So I'm going to leave these to cool on the trays now for about 5 minutes. They will still be quite soft because they're obviously still quite hot, but as they cool down, they'll firm up. Then I'll transfer them to a wire rack to cool completely. Thank you so much for baking along with me. I hope that you enjoyed making these ginger spice and white chocolate cookies just as much as I did, and I very much look forward to cooking along with you again soon. Bye!